What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday edition of Crunch Time. Back to our normal Sunday. Hold on, there we go, centered. No need for any production, Rob. I got that handled. We're our normal Sunday time of the 12:30 to 1 o'clock show. Probably a little. There we go. Justin, you rate the article. Do you prefer? You probably prefer the 1:30 start compared to the 1 o'clock start, correct?
I do, also because that usually means it's one less game I have to write up because the early, the 10 a.m. start or whatever, the Peacock game is usually not on the main slate, which it is today. So, yeah, it's an extra game and it's a half an hour earlier and it's not a huge deal. But, yeah, the later start is always a little better. But, I can't complain because we've only got about 2 more Sundays left of baseball before nobody cares about baseball on Sundays anymore. So.
I care, and I know TJ cares because he got some good odds on a home run prop. They'll probably tell you about in a little bit, but TJ, what's going on?
Yeah, doing pretty well. These Sunday morning slates are pretty tough for me too. I see, did the Spidey Bomb hit yesterday in chat? Yes, the Spidey Bomb did hit yesterday, and it was Pete Alonso. So make sure you get those likes up, and we got more Spidey Bombs coming today as well.
Yeah, I got a couple bets I'll throw your ways too with some Spidey Bombs. But let's get into DFS. Justin, let's start at starting pitcher. And it's maybe a strange lay of the land today. You've got Max Scherzer, the highest price pitcher. But do you want to pay for him today? There's a couple other options, maybe a little cheaper and maybe project a little better too. I like Scherzer. I'll talk about the Rangers probably a little bit. Maybe I'm giving away a bet. But how are you handling starting pitcher today between Scherzer, Fried? I think Hunter Brown's probably in the mix as guys you want to anchor your teams with today. How do you rank those three?
Yeah, I think just in terms of my gross fantasy point output, I'll take Scherzer first. Really surprised to see how much Max Fried is kind of popping in the projections. And not that Max Fried is that bad. I think I kind of agree with our projections a little bit more. We've got Fried a few points under Scherzer, but if you go to the bat, he's got Fried quite a bit higher, which I don't necessarily think I agree with today. The Giants have been like a higher strikeout team against lefties, but we just haven't seen that strikeout upside from Fried since he's come back. His strikeout prop's 5.5. with a little juice on the over. Scherzer's a 6.5 with a little more juice on the over. So I like Scherzer over Fried today. I think I even like maybe Hunter Brown a little better than Fried as well. I was kind of hoping there would be an ownership gap there. Doesn't really look like that's going to be the case, but I still like the matchup with Seattle. Julio Rodriguez at some point has to not get 4 hits in a game. We'll see if that's today. They skipped Brown's last start to kind of manage his innings a little bit. Should be fine today. So I've got them ranked as Scherzer, Brown, and then Fried. Eduardo Rodriguez is pretty safe, but low strikeout opponent there in Cleveland. I just don't think he's got the ceiling that we need to mess with on a slate where you've got kind of 4 arms at the top. So Scherzer, Brown, Fried for me.
TJ, from the tournament perspective at the top, maybe between those three, who are you looking at?
Yeah, it really is between those three at the top as well. This is such... You know me, I usually like paying down at pitcher a bunch, but this is a really tough slate to do so with. And so I got a total of 7 pitchers in my MME pool. Scherzer, Fried, Brown are going to be my 3 highest owned guys. And then I'm going to also try and mix in some Logan Allen, Nick Pivetta, and Kyle Hendricks as my salary savers. But like the cheapest guy I'm getting to today is 7.9K. So really tough to get overly cheap with it.
Yeah, and I want to know too, we don't have the Giants lineup cards. Would you, if they roll out like a C- lineup today, would you reserve your right to change your stance? There are a lot of weak lineups today.
Yeah, it's you get that on Sundays. I don't think Fried is a bad play, so he's fine. Certainly would be in my GPP pool at 50 lineups or something like that. So yeah, but Scherzer is clearly the option that I would choose. If you're just looking to, if you got the top dollar. I find which is using him.
All right. We're at 45 likes. Get us a couple more. TJ, I'll throw the first Spidey Bomb at us. TJ, from tournaments, there are other players. You said your player pool short today, yesterday on the show, right? Yesterday was the day to go cheap. That reasonably worked out if you went that way. today, I agree with you, not so much. So who's the rest of the people in your pool? What do your percentages look like? And is there anyone you're actively avoiding?
I don't have percentages yet. I can get them to you shortly. I actually don't even have my first build in yet. These Sunday mornings are tough for me, but running on PST. But I got Scherzer, Rodriguez, Fried, Brown, Logan Allen, Nick Pivetta, Kyle Hendricks as the entirety of my pool.
So none of the cheap stuff for you today. You're basically sticking with the known quantities. I think that's a pretty reasonable take today. Justin, is there anyone you would throw in? I didn't get a chance to read your article today. Is there anyone outside of those top 7? I mean, looking here on Lineup HQ, I'm struggling to find someone I'd have some interest in other than those top couple of guys.
Yeah, there's nothing really down there. I mean, you've got no strikeout upside with guys like Hudson and Hauser, and Lyles has been terrible. Carrasco's been terrible. Emerson Hancock maybe in a better matchup, but you're not playing him against Houston. You got a few opener / bullpen game situations. You don't want to play Dallas Keuchel. It's just, there's really nothing there. I think going below Hendricks is probably a mistake here. You could play Hunter Green first start back. You can play Nick Pivetta. You got to kind of cross your fingers that he does become the guy there for them today. But it's probably a day where you don't want to get cute at pitcher. You mentioned there's a lot of bad lineups today that lends itself to, there are some guys that you can take as values. So it's a spend day at pitching, basically out of necessity.
All right. I'm just seeing if I got a Giants lineup. They did a bunch of news is crossing, but not the lineup on them. So that's probably why it was taking a little bit. If anyone sees a Giants lineup, if you want to throw it in YouTube, that would be great. All right. With pitching out of the way, we're at 56 likes. So TJ, that means Spidey Bomb number 1. What are we looking at?
Spidey Bomb number 1 is Paul Goldschmidt. You can get him for plus 500 over on DraftKings. Thanks to you for finding me those odds. And Goldschmidt, I love against Carrasco today, and he is Spidey Bomb number 1.
Yeah, Goldschmidt anchoring my Fanduel first base spot currently right now. Can't get the salary on DraftKings for him, so I bet that pre-show based on us talking about it. I'll throw out a bet 2. One, I'm on 2 of them today. I mentioned Texas. I'm on the run line today, -1.5. I think Scherzer, he's been pretty good since he's gone to the Rangers. That offense, they are down Garcia today. So that is a reasonable hit to their offense, but I still think they pull it out fairly easily against Hauser, and I like Scherzer to keep the runs down against Milwaukee today. So the Texas Rangers run line should be about even money on most books. All right, let's go to offense. TJ, I'll throw it to you for more tournaments. Cards and I'll cover position by position. We'll get offense on that. But what are we looking at today? There's some big totals. We've got Atlanta with a little, there's still no Ozzie Albies. They took Michael Harris out of the lineup. They've got a big total. Dallas Keuchel's on the mound. Pittsburgh's certainly in play for me. The Cubs got a big total. What's your favorite teams today?
I think my favorite is it's weird. There's not really one that I'm happy Coors isn't on this slate because I think that makes it so much more spread out. And I don't have necessarily a one team that stands above all else, but I do have a tier 1. And my tier 1 is Houston, Boston, Atlanta, Toronto, and St. Louis. Just based on salaries and things like that, I'm getting to quite a bit more Minnesota. I'm getting to more Pittsburgh. I'm getting to some Mets just because outside of Alonso and Nimmo, they're quite cheap. And so really just trying to mix and match different stacks today. I got a pretty tight pitching pool. St. Louis is going to be my highest own at 15%. And then I actually only have 6% Houston, but there's about 10 teams kind of in the mix in the middle of that. The Mets, the Twins, the Pirates, the Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Rangers, and Braves. So I'm not big on the Cubs. Wind's blowing in. I do have a little bit of exposure. I like Bellinger a lot, but outside of them, I am going to be underweight.
All right, keep the likes up, people. We'll get to 100. We'll drop Spidey Bomb number 2. I got under the bet as well. And then cards. Real quick, offense for you, and then you got any sneaky teams? Mine is without question Pittsburgh today.
Yeah, ownership kind of spread out across the board today with offense. I think you can kind of just play who you like or who you can fit. I mean, if you're spending up on pitching, it is kind of tough to get that full Atlanta stack in there. I'm with TJ on being under on the Cubs. That total's come down from 9.5 to 9. We do have a little bit of a warm spell coming in this area, but we don't have that favorable wind today. I know Jordan Lyles has been bad, so I agree with TJ's take on being under on the Cubs today. We'll probably end up being a little bit under on the Braves just because of salary. I like Houston. Don't mind the Pittsburgh call. I think Toronto is probably a sneakier team that not a lot of people are going to target today. I know that offense has been bad. They do have Bo Bichette back, and Hunter Green, it's his first start in over 2 months, so we just don't know. He was good in his rehab starts, but facing major league hitters in that park is tough. So, they probably won't extend him beyond 85 pitches or so. I think he went 83 in his last rehab. So, yeah, don't sleep on. I like the usual, suspects that TJ mentioned: St. Louis, Atlanta, Houston. But Toronto would be my team to be a little overweight on, sneakier today.
All right, Cards. The Giants lineup's out, and
Okay.
I said C-, and I think it's below that. So I'm going to read it off to you.
It's an F.
It's Slater, Estrada, Flores, Bailey, Davis, Ramos, Matos, Camargo, and Schmidt. I mean, there's nobody really. I know they run their splits out, and some of the guys will get swapped out, but this is not an overall great lineup. Would you bump Fried? I would give him a little bit of a bump based off this.
Maybe a slight one. Yeah. I mean, but the top 4 or so is probably what you expected. And I don't know. They're just weird against lefties. I mean, this is a playoff team right now. I don't know how, but they are. I don't get it. Kapler's weird, but it works.
The Giants are a playoff team, but the Blue Jays aren't right now.
Welcome to the American League.
Can the Cardinals get there, Justin?
No, they need more help than anything can bring at this point.
All right, let's go position by position again, guys. Keep hitting the like. We're 25 away from another Spidey bomb. I'll give another bet, and I want to know if you are in a legal sports betting state and you don't have a FanDuel account. Thanks to them for sponsoring the show. If you're in Tennessee, Arizona, Colorado, and Illinois, you can bet $5 and you'll get $150 in bonus bets. In other states, you can get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Read the terms and conditions, but thank you to FanDuel for sponsoring the show. All right, catcher cards. They force us to roster one on DraftKings. You may or may not want to play one on FanDuel. I'm on your Cardinals today. I'm on Contreras. I think Carrasco's had some reverse splits this year. I'm on Goldie. I'm on Contreras, and some of the other Cardinals are cheap today. What's your thoughts on them overall? And do you think Contreras belongs in the rotation for catcher?
Yeah, he does. I mean, I like them. Somewhat of a concern that they've just kind of given up. I mean, and so have the Mets. But like the Mets, if the Cardinals lose today, they got swept at home by the Mets in 4 games. So they're just not playing well right now. That's really the only concern. I mean, when they played in New York, they hit Carrasco real hard. So yeah, it's hard to get off of them today unless you just think that they're, packing it in. So Contreras, I like. Probably don't have the salary to get up to Murphy today anyways. It's just tough to prioritize. So Contreras, I think Yainer Diaz is fine. Mitch Garver's hitting cleanup for Texas today. You can always go, super cheap here. Amaya's in the lineup for the Cubs. He's under 3K. Reese McGuire's catching today. He's under 3K. Narvaez is in there if you want to go all the way down. But Contreras and Garver and Diaz are probably the 3 that I'll have the most exposure to.
And TJ, you looking at anyone to hit a home run or are you just basically playing catchers and stacks? Oh, you're muted.
Producer TJ, you're muted.
I muted for the.
There's no hate there. There's no hate.
Muted for the cat. Mostly just going in stacks, but Yainer Diaz is the main guy I'm going to today because he's not very expensive and he's batting cleanup for Houston. And so by far my favorite catcher on the slate is Yainer Diaz. Everybody else kind of falls in well behind.
All right, going to first base. I mentioned I'm on Goldschmidt, anchoring my FanDuel cash team. Cards on DraftKings. I don't, even if you avoid Scherzer and play like a Fried and Brown or an Allen with one of those guys, it's pretty tough out on the streets to afford a 5K bat, let alone a 6K bat if you're trying to get Judge or Acuna or somebody in there today. So who are you looking at over on DraftKings? And then what do you think? Do you think Vlad for a little cheaper? I think for most people might be, but I'm on Goldschmidt and the Cardinals today.
Yeah, I mean, for the reasons you mentioned with the spends at pitcher today, I think you can go down to the 3K range on DraftKings today. Alec Burleson is hitting second for the Cardinals. He's 3K. Jake Bauers is hitting cleanup for the Yankees. He's 2,700. Those are the two guys that I would like. Connor Joe against Dallas Keuchel, I think, is viable also. So all three of those guys are really cheap. Obviously, you can play Matt Olson, you can play Goldie, you can play Bellinger. Guerrero maybe a little bit more gettable, and I like him in Toronto stacks. But yeah, I think this is a position you can go cheap today. I mean, I've got no problem playing Bowers or Burleson today.
Yeah. Would you go all the way Rowdy Tellez 2K bare min against Scherzer? Basically just praying for a home run.
No, yeah. He just came back yesterday. I mean, if they were facing like somebody other than Scherzer, it's viable. But Bowers is 2,700, Burleson's 3K. It's not like they're breaking the bank.
Mm-hmm. TJ, lots of ways to go. I would love to be able to pay for a Matt Olson, a Vlad, a Goldie on DraftKings. I just personally can't. How are you handling that conundrum?
I do like Tellez for what it's worth. I think he's just like that. That's a 4.8K bat when he's back healthy, and he's 2K flat. And so Scherzer does give up some power. I'm all right with going there. My favorite is probably Vlad today. He just comes in at a decent discount over the other guys. Pete Alonso, I absolutely love as well. Brandon Belt, if you need to save some salary. And then I also like Vogelbach, Bowers, and Tellez in tournaments.
All right. I didn't hear anyone say Nate Lowe. I sort of like him a little bit from Texas. Very reasonable, consistent bat. And anyone in the Texas lineup is pretty good to me. All right, keep the likes coming. We are 18 away from Spidey Bomb number 2. Let's go to second base cards. What are we doing there today?
I'll tell you what, before card starts, when we get to 100 likes, I'll give you 2 Spidey Bombs at 100.
So let's see. I already hit the like button, guys, so it's on the people watching. Cards, second base.
Yeah, pretty weak position today. Altuve is probably my favorite guy, but he's also very expensive. If you don't have the money, no problem going cheaper here. Trevor Story on Fanduel is only 2,800. So if you want a cheap option on Fanduel, he's a little too expensive on DraftKings. Nice to see that the Minnesota is facing a lefty opener today, followed most likely by Beto. So nice to see that they did start some of their lefties. So I was worried that, maybe Julien wouldn't start, but he is in there hitting 5th today. So I think he's fine as kind of a lower end value. Ji-Hwan Bae is leading off for Pittsburgh, so he's a punt you can look to as well. Like all the Pittsburgh bats are nice ways against Keuchel, who has exactly 0 strikeouts since he's come back. You can get some of those Pittsburgh bats on the cheap, which does have some value today. That's pretty much second. Position kind of stinks today.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is my second bet. We'll get to that. So, before TJ drops the Spidey Bombs, the Pittsburgh money line was around -120 to -1 or +120 to +130. I will literally, and as long as Adam Wainwright starts and as long as Dallas Keuchel starting, I'm going to be betting the teams against them to win the game from here on out. So, Pirates money line for me. TJ, we've crossed the 100 like barrier. Let's get the Spidey Bombs, and you can tell me what's happening at second too.
Yeah, so Spidey Bomb number 2, you can get him for +370 on DraftKings or on Fanduel today, and he is my favorite player overall to hit a home run. It is Rafael Devers. And then our third Spidey Bomb of the day, we are going to my Toronto Blue Jays batting 6th today, Dalton Varsho +470 on Fanduel.
Yeah, 360 FanDuel for Devers. I think Varsho had some better odds. I'll pull those up in just a second. But I like you like Varsho today. He sort of stunk up a little earlier in the season. He's starting to get hot now. I think he's a pretty reasonable DFS play as well. And then in second base, TJ, what are you looking at from a tournament perspective?
Second base today, I got Gleyber Torres is my highest owned guy. Actually, he's just too cheap. And then outside of Torres, it's literally just guys in stacks. So Polanco, Reyes, Julien, a little bit of Nicky Lopez and Peguero, Marcus Semien and Jeff McNeil, Jose Altuve. But it's Gleyber Torres or stack for me today.
Yeah, and cards, I don't think you mentioned Edman on Fanduel. He's 2,900. He's third base. You can move him all over your Fanduel lineup. He should be a fixture to me. Would you recommend getting Edman somewhere in your lineup today?
Yeah, he's fine as well.
Yeah. All right, let's go to third base cards. What do we do? I want, so Devers, right, was a Spidey bomb, attainable on Fanduel. Much tougher on DraftKings to get there today. So what's the difference? I'm playing Devers. He's the staple on Fanduel, I think, for everybody today. How about DraftKings?
Yeah, he's 5,500 on DK. I like the savings to 4,300 with Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Yep.
Hitting cleanup. He's taken better at bats since he's come back. Seems to have his timing down. LeMahieu's leading off for the Yankees. He's 3,100. So that kind of gives you a guy at every price range. Like, I do agree. I think Devers is the top play here. And I don't mind, I've mentioned value at catcher, value at first, value at second. So you're going to spend somewhere. Devers would be one of the priorities. I think certainly an outfield guy or two is probably going to be a priority. But Devers, Ke'Bryan Hayes, maybe LeMahieu. That's my top three there.
All right, TJ, I did confirm both Spidey Bombs, Varsho, and Devers. Your best odds are on FanDuel, our sponsor. So if you're looking to bet those, I would head over there. And then at third base, TJ, how are you handling this? I mean, I'm looking at this, Devers, Riley, Arenado, Chapman. There's a lot of different ways to get home runs here today.
Devers is my top guy today, followed by Ke'Bryan Hayes. He's going to be my second highest owned. Comes in a lot cheaper in that matchup against Dallas Keuchel. Austin Riley, I'm going to pay up to when I can, and then don't mind either of those Yankees, Kiner Falefa or LeMahieu. Trying to get well overweight on Nolan Arenado, and then I think even Matt Vierling is an interesting salary-saving one-off.
All right, shortstop. Again, you can move Edman around on FanDuel. I think he's valuable, 4,300, a little bit more expensive, but it's a pretty weak position cards. Is he your choice on DraftKings as well?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of trepidation with him just at that DK price. He's not as good against righties, and again, and he's tried this. They've talked about it and said it's largely due to whatever the pitch mix is for the opponent and stuff. He's batted righty against some righties, and he does better when he does that. Why he continues to bat lefty at all, I just don't get it. I know I've mentioned this before, but I don't love him on DraftKings at 4,300 and as some relative chalk. I think one way to make your Cardinal stacks different would be to leave him out and go with like the 2 through 5 or 2 through 6, something like that. So again, I'm not going to beat the drum against it and say you're doing it wrong if you play him. I like it a little better on FanDuel though.
What about, I want to question you, if it's not him on DraftKings, who is it? Because you have to, everyone you might want is more expensive, and he's basically the last of anyone you actually want to roster on DraftKings.
You're saying there's nobody below 4,300 that you actually want to go out and click, which is a fair point. Your way to make your Cardinal stack different could be to play Mason Wynn then and do a 9, then 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. He's their number one prospect. They just called him up the other day, but he's hitting 9th, so it's not as exciting. I mean, I think you can, if you got a little bit more, you can get Correa, you can get Lindor, you can get Dansby, you can get Bichette. But yeah, if you're going cheap with Pena hitting 9th, there's really not much else to love other than a full-on punt.
All right. I like Bichette today on FanDuel, TJ. He's my guy. Do you like your Blue Jays today? And then what else are you looking at for tournaments?
Bichette's definitely my top shortstop overall. And then my favorite for tournaments is going to be paying up for Corey Seager today. I'm getting to a decent amount of Correa. Pablo Reyes, I think, is a totally fine punt. And then mixing in some Orlando Arcia, Mason Wynn, and Francisco Lindor.
All right. Let's go to the outfield cards. I'll start off. If you have the money, is it Acuna? Is it Judge? Is it somebody else for you at the top today?
Flip a coin. It's to me,
neither.
It's Alvarez. And it's weird. Again, he's projected a little bit lower, but you got a guy for Seattle that just skipped from the AA level to the majors, and he struggled in his first couple starts and in better matchups than a road date in Houston. You look at Alvarez, huge ISO, WOBA is around 390 against right-handed pitching. I like Judge as a home run, like GPP kind of guy, but if I had to pick one of those guys in cash today, I would probably go Alvarez, Acuna, Judge. But I mean, it's splitting hairs among them, obviously.
All right. And then it's a little tough. You've got Burleson, who's a nice value play on both sides. I think he's probably a priority on both sides for you to get into a cash game. The mid tier is like no man's land today. And it's like it's a stud in value, anything from like 4 to 5. It's just not really good. How are you handling the rest of the position?
Yeah, I mean, you got Varsho at 3,200. I do like Tauchman a good bit. He's leading off, even though I'm not super high on the Cubs, just because that range doesn't have a whole lot of plays. Tauchman at 3,900, I think is fine. If you need somebody in that salary range, Jordan Walker at 3,200, I think is fine. The 4Ks, there's not a whole lot there. You know, it's kind of like the same thing we talked about at short. I'd probably play Whit Merrifield if I had to pick, or Chas McCormick if I'm in the 4Ks.
All right. Do you like Rosario hitting second today for Atlanta at all? With the he's normally seventh.
He had 4 hits last night too, so
yeah, he's someone I'm eyeing basically at that bottom of the 4K range on DraftKings. TJ, are you looking to spend up, or are you looking? Is it stars and scrubs? Are you finding anybody in the mid tier? What's your exposure look like?
I'm spending up a lot in the infield today, so I do find myself paying down a lot in outfield. Burleson's going to be my highest owned guy, followed by Rosario and Dalton Varsho behind him. And then even after that, like, I love Alvarez, and I'm going to be a little bit over the field, but he's like my 10th highest owned outfielder because I'm getting to more Connor Joe, Stuart Fairchild leading off, Jordan Walker, DJ Stewart, who's been stupidly hot. And things like that. So I do find myself saving salary here a lot more than I expected. Like, I'd love to be getting to more Acuna Judge than I am, but Alvarez is the priority for me, and then I'm doing a lot of spending down.
All right. And then Cards, I want to ask you too, because some people, I know I was sort of with this, and I want to get your take on it. 2,500 and below, I think that's sort of the tier on DraftKings. There's a couple of guys you might want to mess around with down there. You've got Luplow, you've got Bay, you've got Oscar Gonzalez. Do you have a favorite of those today on DraftKings?
I am not playing Luplow. I think here's what Pittsburgh's playing an opener, and we know what Minnesota likes to do. They've got a lefty opener. Luplow's in there. As soon as the lefty comes out, he's coming out of the game. We've got him right now at 16% ownership. I think that's crazy. I mean, if he is 16% owned, I'm just hoping he doesn't homer his first at bat or something. So, yeah, I'd probably go Bay and then Gonzalez and then Luplow. I don't. He might only get one at bat here, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, if Beto comes in the third inning, he could be out of there just because of how Minnesota. We've seen them pinch hit for guys in the second inning before, so Luplow could very easily become Max Kepler after one at bat. So he's the guy I'd stay away from.
All right, got to go to Discord for questions, then got to go to YouTube. We've got about 5 minutes. Click the like button. TJ, you got any other Spidey bombs, or are we done with those for the day?
I could toss out one more if we can get to 125.
All right, 125, and as long as it's not from Seattle, Houston, we'll have plenty of time to get that in. So first question, Falcor in the live stream chat. Single entry, stack the Cardinals and Cubs, or basically the Cubs or Toronto today. TJ.
Toronto, definitely Toronto over the Cubs.
Justin?
I agree.
All right, anyone on Pavetta today? I know, TJ, you said you were...
Yeah, I have some Pavetta, but I don't love him.
All right. NC Big Hurt, it's a question for you directly, Justin. Favorite pitcher stack for a FanDuel large field tournament today?
My favorite pitcher would probably be Scherzer or Hunter Brown, and then my stack would depend on how creative you want to get. Toronto, if you want to get super creative, probably the Cardinals if you're okay with a little bit more chalk.
All right. This is a 3v3 single entry. TJ, I'm going to throw it to you. Let's see. This home versus amateur. I don't know. I don't understand what you're trying to say here. Redo the question and I'll try to get it. D-Dot, FanDuel single entry. That's the question everyone has today. Let's go around the horn. Hunter Brown or Max Fried? TJ.
Brown in tournaments, Fried in cash.
Justin, same?
Yep.
I say they're pretty equal. So you got two Browns and then 2.5 Brown and a half a Fried for me. I think those are probably the two answers for me if I was doing that on FanDuel today. All right, going to go to YouTube. Jeffrey wants to know, Pirates a good single entry stack on DraftKings? Absolutely. To me, I am fully on the Pirates today. Justin, could that be your single entry team? Are they the team to get it done before Keuchel leaves after 2 innings?
So it could. I like it better on DraftKings because you've got two pitchers and you can get the double. Like the big thing with the Pirates, other than them facing Keuchel, is that they're really cheap. Because in general they're not very good. But you can play a Pittsburgh stack with a double pitcher, so you can do like a Scherzer Fried build or something. That to me makes them more valuable as a stack, even in single entry on DraftKings. I probably wouldn't do it on FanDuel because the salary cap's a little less restrictive and you only have one pitcher.
Eric wants to know Erod versus Cleveland today. TJ, I'll throw that to you. Erod good. Cleveland doesn't strike out. Who's going to win in that battle today?
I do have a little bit of Erod, but he is my lowest owned pitcher.
All right. So yes, but not really is the tone I'm getting out of that one.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got that one. Lucan Baker. Anyone on him today?
Not really, no.
Yeah, I would like to see him do something at the major league level before I play him. The Cardinals are fine today, but he's the one guy outside of Edman that I would probably be the lowest on. He had like 30 some homers at AAA, but so far in the big leagues, big old nothing burger and 30 at bats. So,
all right. Aside in the live stream chat wants to know FanDuel cash. So Justin, I'll throw this to you. So it's Max Scherzer with Massey and Salvador Perez, or Fried with Tauchman and Ian Happ.
I would take the second one. Not really on the Royals bats here.
Yeah, I'd take the second one, but I didn't even really look at the Cubs. I know they've been hot and they've got a pretty good matchup today. But are you the Cubs in cash? That's just like the 5th or 6th team on my radar today?
Yeah, I am fine with Tauchman. So if I was building that, I would keep the second one and keep Tauchman, but I'd probably find somebody else for Happ.
All right. Let's see. I think that's a Hayes double dong. I would like that quite a bit on my teams today.
Me too, because get me 12 more likes and I'll tell you why I like it.
Oh, that's all right. So we're inferencing. I'll go look up the home run odds on that one for everybody.
That wasn't much of an inference. That was just kind of a statement.
Brian Hayes is plus 1,000 on FanDuel. Are you kidding me?
That can't be real.
It's real.
Let's see this here. Player home runs. Brian Hayes this isn't real. Let's see. He is plus 1,000 on FanDuel. It is real, guys. I'm going to go over and get on that. Justin, the Patrick Wisdom, we're not playing that anymore. But if I would have asked you Brian Hayes, you probably would have been like plus 600 or something like that.
Yeah,
but 1,000 is pretty crazy.
The Wisdom train derailed there after a month or so. But I would not. Plus 1,000 is real good odds for Brian Hayes today for sure.
Yeah, we'll go follow that one. It's too late for me to get that on Scores and Odds and steal it from you, TJ. But that's a very nice one at plus 1,000. That makes absolutely no sense. And if that's to hit one home run, Justin, there's a lot of 2 home run days. Someone in chat wanted it. Dare I check what he is to hit 2 home runs?
I'm going to be ahead of you here because I was on the page.
Plus 17,000. All right, I'm going to throw that out there too. That's too good of odds. 17,000 for him to hit 2 home runs today.
That's one. Yeah, 2 home runs. Yeah, plus 17,000. That's worse odds than some person named Alika Williams, who is also playing in that game.
Yeah, so I did the Hayes plug. Good find, TJ.
Worse odds than Michael Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor just had a nice home run a couple. What was that, 2 days ago?
Hit a home run again tonight.
Yeah. All right, that's gonna do it for today's show. I think we got all of the questions. TJ gave out some good Spidey bombs. Who were they again, TJ? In case anyone's trying to get them in right now.
Paul Goldschmidt, Rafael Devers, Dalton Varsho, Brian Hayes.
All right, I was on I'm on the Rangers run line, should be about even money most sites. I'm on about so many things I forgot. Oh, the Pirates money line should be around plus 120 or so. Justin, did you dabble in the sports books this morning?
I did put something on scores and odds this morning. So I took the Guardians today. I think that'll be a low-scoring, close game with Erod and Logan Allen. The Tigers used all their good bullpen guys last night. Cleveland is 5th in bullpen ERA, so I like the Guardians to pull out a close victory over the Tigers today.
All right,
We said we didn't want Julio Rodriguez to have a bunch of hits again today, but he already opened the game with a double.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Dude's nuts.
Yeah, he would the reasonably he had a slow start to the season, but that has all been made up for right now. And should he's not going to win like the MVP, but if he was in the MVP race, he would be like vaulting ahead because all of his actions right at the end of the season, which is basically the dumbest thing ever.
If he goes, let's see, if he goes say 0 for 30 the rest of the month, does he still win Player of the Month?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
he probably won't, but it probably won't go 0 for 30. But
yeah. All right, I think that's going to do it for today. Check out Scores and Odds if you're looking for any sports bets. Good luck to TJ, Justin, and everyone watching today. I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, and we out you.